Hi, Gerhard Bloom, once again looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So the very day I produce a video on leftists getting mugged by reality, I hear about a social justice activist, young man, with his wife or girlfriend. He stabbed to death in an unprovoked attack on the streets of New York City by, yes, a black man. Unprovoked attack, senseless murder, and absolutely for nothing. And when I look at these issues, I speak at the disproportional rates of serious violent crime coming out of the black community, bracketing, of course, those smash and grab looting campaigns, the common denominator of which, black. All you see is a little army of black people running in, smashing shit and stealing shit. But in this case, I'm speaking of serious violent crime, young social activists murdered. And I don't blame, young black people. I have people on X tell me, when I say it's not race, it's culture, they say, oh, no, it's race. Nonsense. Charles Manson, white guy, right? Adolf Hitler, there's a big white guy for you. Lots of black criminals, vicious murderers, killers, rapists, you name it, there are white, awful criminals out there. But it remains the case that serious black crime, there's a vast disproportion of serious black crime, a vast disproportion. So when I say culture, what might I mean by that? Well, here is a shocking example. I mentioned this to two Asian friends of mine. One is Korean, one is Chinese. And I say to each of them, imagine this happening in your respective communities. It's impossible. Here's what's impossible. And this is going back a few years where cultural norms are far different from today. John Lindsay was the mayor of New York City, 1966, 1973. I don't know exactly what year this is from. It may be in my book. I speak about this. The mayor giving a speech, public speech. A black woman sticks up her hand and says, Mr. Mayor, I got 6 kids. Each has a different daddy. My job to have these kids, your job to raise them. I says to myself, how does she expect this mayor to raise her kids? 6 illegitimate kids. Not to mention Father's Day, that would be quite the chaotic day, right? No, she says, my job to have them, your job to raise them. But she didn't mean to actually raise them. She meant to support them because, yes, moms were getting paid by the government to have illegitimate babies. She actually thought the government wanted her to have illegitimate babies. The taxpayer does not want to be paying for illegitimate babies. They don't. Why? Because it's a problem. The question remains, who was raising these 6 kids? And I shudder to think of the lives that these little kids, the lives that they later grew into realizing. The 6 different fathers, they have baby mamas with different mamas. You think she's the only baby mama out there with 6 different daddies? No, these daddies go out and father children with other mothers, and they're not sticking around to help raise these kids. And I don't blame the kids, right? I just reflected on what happened to these souls. They come in this raised as feral animals, and they're not animals. They're human beings with dignity and all, full of potential. And that potential is closed off in an environment that's caustic and damaging and deadly. And the outcomes are typically awful. But occasionally, there are some intervening variables. You show me a black person who gets out of that environment and does well in school and makes something of themselves, undoubtedly somebody intervened. Somebody somewhere saw some potential and showed them a different path in life. You need to be shown a way. Fathers are typically that vehicle, but in the absence of that, There's an excellent program in, I forget what school district, where black men in the community, they go to the schools because the violence was out of control. These black kids, yes, it was black kids that were causing the mayhem and discord. This was, majority minority schools. And these black kids, the black young men, respected these black, they're not parents, they're just black men who took the time and the interest to come to school to bring some stability. This is going to help. This is what needs to happen. But absent that, the inner city black community, a huge cluster of cultural commitments that are absolutely awful, and they're destroying lives. And, this poor social justice activist, he came from a particular culture too. Undoubtedly, his head was filled with leftist nonsense from kindergarten. But not just him. Every week, you don't hear about it because the news doesn't talk about it, but little kids shot and killed in the inner city by drive-by shooters. Vast majority of these shooters are black men indiscriminately shooting into buildings, into neighborhoods, into crowds, right? Absolutely awful. Anyways, please check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. Important, not because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues could not be more important. And yes, my fragile ego loves to see the little heart signs flutter up here. So please, if you like the video, drop a thumbs up. Thanks so much for your time and attention now. Bye-bye.